Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Bonus Points podcast. I am your host Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy.
Oi oi.
Hello Ollie, and this is a especially fun one for Ollie and me because for those of you that don't know, the reason Ollie and I know each other is because we have been friends since the school days from a very long time ago. And another good friend that we had in school and are still friends with now is Joe James, who is the guest on this week's podcast. Welcome, Joe.
Hello guys. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
The high school boys are back together.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to be careful to not drift too much into like reminiscing and like references to specific things from old times. But maybe we can have a little bit of that because that is fun and that is what we do a lot when we do.
Are we allowed to name drop the high school? Has that been done before?
Yeah. You can say the high school.
The ultimate showdown. CHSB. Right.
There we go.
Immediately with references that no one will get than us, but that is fine. But yeah, the reason we are all here together is not to reminisce of old school times or tell any embarrassing stories. I'm editing this, so don't even try it. Is because we're going to be talking about a video game, which is, of course, Joe's choice, and that is Alien Isolation. So why did you choose this game, Joe?
Well, Ollie informed me that, or asked if I'd be interested in appearing on the Halloween episode or a near Halloween edition of the Bonus Points. And last year I had played in its entirety Alien Isolation, and I couldn't think of anything better and more fitting for the spooky season than Alien Isolation.
So that was your first time playing it only last year? Only
last year, yep. It was on Game Pass, and Ollie had recommended it to me before, but I don't think you'd played it in its very much by that point, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, got it on Game Pass for the Xbox One. And didn't play anything else whilst playing it, sort of saw it through to the end. Yeah. And you have both played it. Yeah, I've spoken to Ollie a little bit about it. So Joe, you have played it, yeah?
I have played it. I've got to be completely honest. I haven't played it in its entirety. So I haven't seen the ending yet.
It is a slog. I don't.
not necessarily because of the game, just because it's been a particularly busy couple of weeks. So I was literally playing it like about 20 minutes before this podcast started, trying to get as far as I could. And so I've actually been playing it for like the last 2 hours.
I was reminding myself of it as well. Yep. So I was similarly playing it very recently. Yep.
Okay, cool. And so you played it a bit back in the day, Ollie, was that?
Yeah, I did play just a very small amount of it, though. Like, I don't think I even saw the Alien when I played it initially.
Okay, but that was enough to recommend it.
I think it's like, because I know how close it is to the film. Even though I hadn't seen the film, I had heard that it was authentic to the film, so there you go. And also it's on Game Pass.
Yeah,
unfortunately not anymore. Just a bit of just
no, not anymore.
No. Just,
it will come round again. Keep checking. It will come round again.
Well, because the fans are crying out for a sequel, which is a lot of question marks around that. So hopefully, in lieu of a sequel, it will come back to Game Pass, or just remake it as they seem to be doing with everything these days. Because it is nearly 10 years old now.
It's 9 years old, yeah.
9 years old.
Came out in 2014. So before we get too far in, Ollie, did you want to kind of read your synopsis of what the game is and kind of bring everyone up to speed for those that haven't heard of it?
I'd love to. All right, it's a slightly longer one, this one, so brace yourselves, guys. Alien Isolation is a 2014 survival horror game developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Windows, Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Based on the Alien film series, the game is set 15 years after the events of the original film and follows engineer Amanda Ripley, daughter of Alien protagonist Ellen Ripley, as she investigates the disappearance of her mother aboard the space station Sevastopol. Once inside, Amanda discovers that the station has fallen into disarray due to an alien creature on the loose and must find a way to escape. Alien Isolation was designed to resemble the original Alien film rather than its more action-orientated 1986 sequel Aliens, and features a similar lo-fi 1970s vision of what the future could look like.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, we
This is
all
fun,
played.
actually,
We all
because-
played the right one, yeah.
yeah, so it's all, I wait for the one time you're going to read that, and I'm going to start panicking. It's fun because a lot of times when guests bring their game, like almost always, not always, it's a game from like their childhood, or at least a game from like quite a while back that they played at release. So it's quite cool. This is a game you played recently, but I'm assuming you were a big fan of the Aliens franchise in general. Then,
Well, yeah, I was going to say. So while obviously this is quite a recent game, I have been a big fan of the Alien franchise as a whole, both the films and the games, and sort of by extension, without veering too much, like the Predator franchise kind of feeds into the whole Alien world in both films and games as well, and that's got a whole life of its own. But little thing, if I just had a little look the other day at how many games there are in the Alien franchise, would either of you like to have a guess at how many games there are?
oh, let's do a competition. Let's see who gets closest.
Can I go first?
Go for it.
Ollie.
I think 15.
Right. Okay.
I think more than that. I think I'm going to say like 38. Like all like the arcade games and stuff.
Well, yes, if we're including the arcade games,
Which we should.
Which we should, of course. It's about 45.
What? Oh, that's close. That's close. On his little face he pulled with my guess.
Yeah, about 45 games, and that covers pretty much really about from like rudimentary PCs through all the Game Boys, through and then arcade machines. There was even recently like an Alien versus Pinball thing.
Yes. We just talked about that. Me and Joe were talking about that yesterday. Because Joe's a big pinball head.
But like, was that a pinball machine, or was it just on a?
No, that's a virtual one.
Yeah,
it's quite mad. I watched a video.
There is an Aliens pinball machine. It was made in the UK. In Wales it was made.
Wales.
Yeah, and it has like the alien head, and then the little inner mouth. It like comes out and grabs the ball and like takes it to the mouth. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, cool. I'd have to go and find that out. Yeah, and it also had obviously like arcade games.
Yeah.
I think the third one had a spin-off arcade game, and and also they are still. I think since Alien Isolation, there have been at least 2 or 3 other Alien-affiliated games with relatively big releases, and like before then. But big. Always been a big fan of this as a franchise and as a game. I think the Alien game I remember the most was Aliens versus Predator 2 on the PC, which I think came out in 2001, which was fairly highly regarded. I think it was one of the better ones.
I remember playing that. I played it at Joe's house.
Oh, okay.
I played it at his house, yeah. I remember on your tiny little cube PC that you used to have. It was like a little, it was like a loaf of bread size, and it was like, probably still using the same one. Also, Joe James, you'll be pleased to know that me and Joe Garrett, when we got together, we watched Alien and Aliens.
Oh,
basically back to back, like one like each day, back to back.
Yeah. Well, as I'm sure you agree, there are 2 like for like video game adaptation, they're 2 complete ends of the scale. So obviously first one straight up survival horror. Second one is very action orientated, lots of shooting,
completely different.
Of all that, like completely different. And I did sort of look out there, and some fans of Alien Isolate or of the Alien franchise sort of wanted a bit more shooting in Alien Isolation. I don't personally agree, but I don't know, that's just me. Maybe that's something they'll do.
I feel like the shooting games are covered for Aliens. Like one of the things I saw, like an interview with one of the developers of Creative Assembly, and they're saying like they wanted to make like an Alien game, like they were big fans, and they were like, oh, no one's ever made a horror game. Like there's not like all of these, no one's made an Alien horror game, which is crazy when you think of like they're like at least the original is like a big horror film, and so they're like, we're gonna try and make a horror film based on Alien, which is kind of weird that they were the first to attempt that.
Yeah, and it's just also like it is weird it took that long to get a purely horror one, but also I think it's done that thing of kind of like quite like biding its time very well, because one of the things this game relies on hugely is the audio and visual aspect of it, for which maybe they were just sort of biding their time until systems got there.
Yeah.
Because I think it is the sound that really makes it in this game.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Also, on the audio and visual side, me and Joe both played the Switch version, which is apparently the best version because it was released as the latest, so it's going to be the best. And then also, it comes with all the DLC included, which if you wanted to buy the DLC separately on Xbox, it'd be like £45. So the fact that the Switch version's only £15 for everything, it's like it's pretty damn good.
So the video footage for those watching the video version, like. This is the Switch, like I promise. Like it looks, it looks
amazing.
Forgetting for a Switch game, like the game looks amazing. But all that footage is on Switch, and it runs fine. Like it runs solidly enough. Like it's usually at about 30, and for this kind of game, that's okay. But before we get too like deep into it, we haven't really kind of explained just kind of the general gameplay loop. So I didn't know, Ollie, did you want to kind of maybe talk through just what are you doing when you're playing this game?
Okay, so you are playing as a human and you are on a ship in space that's kind of gone to hell. The humans have gone mad. There's an alien on board. And what you're generally doing is you're in first person. You're creeping around trying to complete tasks for your human crew, who are your friends, who are on board with you, while avoiding hostiles, whether they be other humans or robots, or the alien, which is basically appearing at any time, anywhere, and will track you down. So you can hide in lockers or hide under desks, and you've got this like little motion detector, so you can kind of know where the alien is at all times. But the cool thing is about the alien is that because it's kind of running on what they said is an advanced AI, but obviously that was 9 years ago, is it can kind of appear at any time, anywhere, and it has like a hint system that kind of knows where you are and will like sniff around where you're hiding, and then if it catches you, it is an instant kill, and it's back to the last time you manually saved. There are no auto saves.
So I did find out it never cheats. They only ever teleport it for a cutscene. Otherwise, like if you saw it go in a vent, it will never be like, oh, I'm going to put you in this vent to do a jump scare. Like it has to walk the way that you do. And as you said about the AI, they got a system called like the menace gauge. And basically it would be kind of doing a thing where they would be always trying to guess how stressed the player is and be like, the player hasn't seen the alien or anything for a while. Like, let's make the alien a bit more aggressive. Or like, they've probably been stressed for quite a while. Let's get the alien to like hang back a little bit more and give them a chance to loot up and stuff. And you do kind of feel that. Like before I even found out about that, I was like, this seems to be perfectly paced for when the alien shows up for quite natural AI.
It has a great rhythm. There's a great push and pull of the alien, isn't there? Where like you're kind of, okay, I'm in the mode where I think I last saw it behind me, so I'm going to like push ahead as much as I can, gather up supplies. And then one other thing you find yourself doing as you're playing is when you run into a room, before you're picking up like ammo, which is incredibly precious, like there's hardly any ammo in this game, you're literally like, okay, there's a cupboard there. There's the exit is there, so I know exactly where I need to go. Looking at the ceiling, like, is there a vent up there? Like, you are literally training. You're like trained to like be the perfect survivor.
It's like Born Identity. Like, it's like as soon as I've entered an area, I've seen where the exits are, and I can run 15 miles. You know, like you're. It's funny because I didn't actually like cognitively think about that, but now you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally do that.
yeah, and the visual language of the game is like, even though it's quite basic because it's got this like minimalist style and it's based on this film from 1979, it's really easy to read. So it's literally like when you see a cupboard, you know exactly which ones you can go in. When you see a door, you know if it's going to be locked or if it's going to take a little while to open, or you can tell all these things just from like
lots of little green LEDs.
I was going to say a lot of light is just used to indicate all these things, including a lot of like where to go. Like kind of leads you through the game in that way as well.
Yeah, and also the motion detector has a light along the border, and that just always points at your objective. So even if your objective is behind you but up some stairs that are in front of you, the markable point
leads
forwards.
you that way. I did find myself just sort of looking at that thing in moments of desperation rather than just, I just look at this and it's the alien's not there anymore. No, it's just this very odd thing.
I did,
and you can never fully. Oh, sorry, Ollie.
I was going to say I did rely on, like, if I look busy, the alien will leave me alone. So like I would like power walk to the door. Like, as long as I don't look at him, he should leave me alone.
If I can't see it can't see me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, with the motion detector, obviously, like, it's very handy, but it is a motion detector. It's not an enemy detector. It's detecting motion. So obviously it will say that there's motion here, but if it's the alien, you don't know, is it above you or below you, or like, is it like a human who might be non-hostile? Like, they'll still be showing up. So like, it's helpful, but you can, it isn't like, it is not a know where the alien is at all times, like, indicator.
Yeah, it's, I think James Cameron, because I think it first features properly in Aliens, so the second one, he just sort of ended up saying it's the best horror device ever, because the closer the danger is,
he would say that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, like the faster the beeping, and then also the more high-pitched the beeping. So yeah, it's this, well, very useful in a game context, but just also the most frustrating and terrifying thing. Is also very unhelpful at the same time. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been ripped off loads. Like, one of the things that Ollie and I noticed watching the films is like, oh, so much of this is Halo. That's the Halo motion sensor. Like, their flamethrower looks like the Halo assault rifle and stuff. And it was really weird for us watching the films because we both had played. So I had seen Aliens, but like a long time ago, like back in college, and neither of us had seen Alien. And so we had both played the game a bit before watching the film. So we had the opposite experience to what most people have, where we were like watching the film going, oh, look, it's just like the game. Like, oh, they got those little like duck things that like drink the water like from the game.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, like the other way around. So you see, it's the first time opening the game, you have that, like, old VHS 20th century like box thing, which is, so you're like, oh, this is immediately kind of like it's going to be a big nod to fans of the franchise, like, and well, specifically the original film as well, because every room you go in is exactly out of the ship. Even a lot of rooms you don't need to go in are out of the original film.
Yeah.
That's
what that aspect of it I didn't really get, because like my understanding is that the film, they work for one company, but in the game the ship belongs to another company, but the ships are like the exact same layout, and it's like, in the game, you work for Seegson is the company, and then in the film, the company is called like Weyland-Yutani, and it's like, but the ships look identical, and like,
is that the ship they arrived on though, or the ship because you arrive in a ship? This is the kind of set up the story, and then you kind of basically crash essentially onto the other ship. So maybe that the company that that you're from, Amanda, maybe that's the ship you start from, but not the one you're exploring. Is that
the one you're exploring when you go to the rewire panels? It says Seegson. It like comes up first. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe they're just building these ships and then companies are just buying them. Like, I don't know. I'm not too sure exactly.
Seegson is the tech. So the work Jones,
it's like Apple,
and all the technology that they use, and perhaps like the ships themselves. But Weyland-Yutani is I think that's it, is the company. Yeah. They're the ones that kind of mentioned throughout the gaming franchise. But I think Seegson is, they're responsible for all the malfunctioning worker Joes.
Apparently they're supposed to be like. They're supposed to be like the Lidl to Weyland-Yutani's Waitrose. I saw it online as that, which is why the worker Joes are so like rubbish compared to the ones that are in the films that like look like humans.
Yeah. The wrinkly necks, like they couldn't quite get the neck joint right. Do you want to talk about the worker Joes? Because everyone talks about like the alien and the alien, but you kind of spend as much time avoiding or interacting with worker Joes as much as anything else. So I guess you might as well explain it, Joe, seeing as you have a name bond as do I.
Yeah, the name bond. Yeah, I share an affinity with these worker Joes. Well, I guess in a sense there had to be something because
Yeah,
otherwise, otherwise it would be a very long game, just you and sort of running around this ship, and yeah, they do sort of help drive the game forward. They are also the one thing you can use your weapons on, really, or one of a couple of things, I suppose. But they're the main things or the main reason to find weapons and use weapons and stuff. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about weaponry later, or back to the Worker Joes. But no, they for lovers of the films, obviously androids appear in both the Alien and Aliens. But in Alien, they reveal themselves to be very bad, and in Aliens, reveal themselves to be very good. And in this one, we obviously have them as very bad ones. So yeah, they're kind of there to maintain the ship and stop anyone else from interfering in what they're doing. I'm trying to remember if the alien sort of whether the alien interacts with them at all.
So he's not, the alien is not bothered by the Worker Joes at all, which I didn't understand, because I was like, as far as the alien's concerned, that is a human, so he should be tearing it, ripping it in half. But like quite a few scenes, I would have an alien and a Worker Joe together, and they wouldn't be bothered by each other.
Be like, oh, that will distract them, but no, it doesn't. Yeah.
Maybe it's smart enough, because the alien does attack other humans, and that's like one of my favorite moments in the game. Was there was like a big group of humans, and so I just threw, like, you can create a device called like a noisemaker, and so I just yeeted the noisemaker into the middle of these humans, and it goes off. They're like, what's that? And then the alien comes down and kills them all, and I'm just peering through my little vent, just going like, are they done? Are they done? Then I just go and loot them all and go off. Like, so there is interaction between like the AI of like kind of different like enemies, but yeah, I guess just directly, maybe the alien's smart enough. Maybe if it was a better Worker Joe, one of the more advanced ones, it would go after.
Oh yeah. So like, yeah, as you were saying about, there's a couple of things there we've touched on. There's only 3 enemies really in the game. There's the Worker Joes, the alien, and the humans. But what I like,
have I forgotten? Are they the face crawlery ones?
There are the face huggy things are later on in the
are there?
game.
I never saw one.
Yeah, no, they're later on in the game. So I was looking in the development just because I know they were going to do one of like the Xenomorph like mothers, like the big one that's in ones. Aliens, the one that like lays the eggs. And they had even kind of started promoting that it was going to be in the game, and then they got rid of it just because they were scared that if people knew that it was going to be in the game, they would expect a boss fight, and they didn't want to do a boss fight because they didn't think that would fit the game. So they just took it out of the game.
The whole game is one big boss fight, really. So
yeah, boss run.
Well,
I didn't do much fighting.
What I was going to say still stands in that even though there's not that many enemies, the ways that you take them on are all like different, and the ways that they act are all different, which is like adds enough variety when you have like one human, one Worker Joe, or you have like a mixture of what. It always kind of changes the like encounters a little bit, especially because the Worker Joes, they're not always evil, and you don't always know which side of them you're going to get when you like kind of approach them. Like I've creeped up behind one of them with my crowbar thing, and then it's been like, how can I help you? And then the character's been like, the character's been like, oh, I need to get a key card. And I was like, oh, like, okay, glad I didn't swing then. Like,
yeah, same with the humans as well. Like they're not always hard, because I had one like they were like friendly, and I was like, okay, we're good. And then I went to like reload my gun just separately, and I started reloading my gun, and they went like, hey, what you doing? I was like, nothing, no, sorry, this isn't for you. This is for someone else.
But I think, because now I've sort of played through it like 1.5 times, I don't think you really need to. I think there's maybe a couple of occasions where you're forced to fight humans and Worker Joes, but the vast majority of the time you can just run and hide and evade, and just not really have to have much. But actually, Ollie, you said like I said when there's a big bit where like a load of Worker Joes come through, I took ages trying to like take down all of them. And I wasn't even aware that you can just run past them.
So there's a section. So I got to mission 12 of 19. So I got quite far. There's a section where you go to a Worker Joe showroom, and they're all kind of just sat like posed. And I was just like, oh God, I don't want to walk through the middle of them because they're kind of in a tunnel. So I went to the computer and it was like, oh, just so you know, I've put a Worker Joe shutdown button on the pillar behind the desk. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go and do that first. So I did that. Then I just ran through the middle of them and it was obviously fine. But then when I got to the next area, I did a rewire to send the gas out of a broken pipe and just set fire to the door. So I was like, even if they come to life, they're not going to be able to come through, because I assumed that fire would kill the Worker Joes, but actually what happened is all of them caught fire and just walked through. So I had a room full of like burning Worker Joes, like you're getting hysterical, like throwing me against the wall, like literally all of them on fire.
Wouldn't you?
The EMPs make light work of them. So I just
And did you get as far as the big bolt gun, Ollie?
No, I got the shotgun.
Later, you acquire the bolt gun, which can dispose of them very quickly. Just one shot to the face, done. Yeah.
So is it bolt like lightning or like a?
No, you sort of charge it up. I guess it was like a bit of drilling equipment. They've kind of repurposed as this thing.
So does it do the thing you can stick into the wall and they will like ragdoll? I love it when games do that.
No, they just still abide by their very slow puppet-like thing and just slowly.
Boo. Boo. I mean, it wouldn't fit the style of this game. I remember there was a gun like that in like one of the old Hitman games, and you shoot them and they just go like on the wall and like glitch out. Like, great, brilliant.
Yeah.
I did actually
none of that foolishness.
I did actually see a mod online that adds loads of aliens and makes them quite stupid and gives you like a pulse rifle. But it's the same game, so they're just like they're in all the rooms. You're just like running around like no.
But the developers hate that mod. It's like everything we crafted. Did anyone look into anything about the development of this game and kind of how it was made and kind of how it came about?
Well, maybe you guys can fill in some gaps. So I looked at Sega, obviously, like known for survival horror, but then who is the other people that made
Creative Assembly?
Yeah, so they're just known for basically the Total War games mostly.
Yeah. So since this game, they made Halo Wars 2 and then 8 Total War games. That's it. Like they really haven't made another game like this, which is quite surprising.
So what did they bring to the table? Really? I guess I don't know.
So the way the game came about. So Sega wanted them to make an Olympics game, a game about the Olympics. Was what Sega wanted, and they were like, "We really want to make an alien game." And then Sega were like, "No, we really would prefer you to make this Olympics game." So Creative Assembly were just like, "Okay, we're just going to make it." So they spent like 5 weeks making kind of like a non-playable demo, but all in engine using their own tech for a Vikings game they had made. And they basically kind of built like the set essentially and kind of did a version. And they started showing that to people at Sega who weren't their heads, but like the actual developers to get them excited. And so then when they went into like the meeting to show all the execs, there was already like this groundswell of like, this is cool. And then they showed it and then it got greenlit to make a survival horror third-person game. And so they spent a long time making a third-person game, and there's footage of it out there. It's got like a Gears of War style cover system. It looks quite good because that's what horror games were like back. They were like Resident Evil and so on. That's what a horror game was, and it was. Now first-person ones are much more common, or probably the majority now are first-person. And then it was only partway through development where they kind of tested it out, and they were like, "Oh, this is way scarier having to do it in first-person." So they ended up switching. So that's kind of the story for how this game came about.
I did also I watched a video on IGN called The Art of the Level, where they went into like how they designed each area, and they basically pointed out in that video that every area is a loop that I hadn't noticed until they pointed out that like, and they're showing the maps like, oh yeah, look, you could like go around this way and then you'll always be able to come back out. Because the thing is with the looping system is most of the time you can run either way and then you can see the alien across the other side, which is obviously really exciting to be like, oh my God, I can see him like through this, or her, I think it's her actually, through the gap. And then they also were saying that like they designed the levels as video game levels first and then like populated them with things from the movie rather than being like, let's make the ward from the film, because it may not work so well in the context of the game. Yeah, it was a pretty cool video. And also, I just quickly want to shout out Creative Assembly because they're in Horsham, which is really close to where I live.
I saw that when I was looking into them. Oh, cool.
In the game, there's a picture of Seven Sisters Cliffs, which is literally like not far from here. And I saw it in the game, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like it's so weird.
Representing Sussex, or is that
representing? No, it's Sussex.
Sussex, still Sussex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, big shout out to CEX Bogner. Always got the goods.
Is that where you got it from?
Yeah.
For sponsoring the podcast. Thank you for we should mention that this was provided to us by CEX when we gave them money.
When I gave them money. That's how they do it over there.
What's the CEX in Bognor? What's it like? Does it smell?
Do you know what? The nicest staff I've come across in a CEX. It is very cramped in there, so
it's like Alien.
Yeah, it's like Alien, and it is a loop as well. It is a loop, right? So, and woe betide you if you go the wrong way around the loop.
They never want you to leave.
They really do pull out all the stops with the displays. I'll say that.
Good.
There you go.
You see the alien behind the mobile phone bit, like behind the glass, like
yeah.
Just its reflection.
It's like it's like a bit of interactive theatre.
Shout out to all of our friends from across the world who are currently googling what a Bogner is.
Yeah,
enjoy that rabbit hole. I warned everyone we'd start drifting to old times.
The sunniest place in the UK.
But before we kind of move on from the levels and kind of the designs of them, one other thing that kind of makes this game unique almost to this day is so I was watching, where I got a lot of my information from is NoClip did a really kind of good deep dive into the development of it, and they were talking about the tech behind it, because it's using their own game engine, and none of the lights are pre-baked. And what that normally means is, within a texture, they might add this wall's more lit up and stuff, basically to have less resources. All of the lights, even ones that don't move, are basically dynamic and on every scale, big lights, small lights. And so that is very rarely even done today. Even modern games that use ray tracing will normally also be using kind of pre-baked in lights. And once I kind of heard that, and then I was really looking for it, you can see how much it makes a difference. The weird walls and the way they kind of curve down. They look a bit like your blinds, Ollie, but curved for those with the video podcast. And you can see if there's a dynamic light, you can see the way that there's little bits of shade between the gaps and stuff. And it's not the sort of thing that you would outright notice unless you're looking for it, but I think it probably helps create the vibe. And light is used a lot. You'll be plunged into darkness, or an area will be set on fire. They do make the most of that technology. And once again, remind everyone, we were playing this on the Switch and it was running fine. It was very impressive.
Yeah, no, I noticed that a pre-baked light, just in case it wasn't entirely clear, it's imagine a spotlight pointed at a wall. They would have the texture with the white ring on the wall, no matter what, so that you can tell. So what I noticed in this game is throwing a flare kind of gets rid of the other lights, and that's when I noticed that they were dynamic, because the lighting effects in this game are amazing. Also, you can use your flamethrower as a torch. The lighting effects are that good that because it has a little pilot light on it. As long as you get it out, it's fine.
Oh, you mean just holding it? I was going to say, that
just
sounds like a really bad use of resources.
No, just
have you not found the flares, Ollie?
No, just getting the flamethrower out and holding it. It lights up the room.
It's a stealth game. Just going down the air vents. See you coming a mile away. They can see you from the other ship where you were going.
I was playing on easy, right? I had so many weapons and ammo. As I come down the vents, I hit him with my crowbar, so I know I'm coming. I'm like the alien.
I will say something I noticed, because I played through it on hard first time around. Don't even mention it. But then I was played through it on medium. The difference is staggering. I was in a hallway and I was like, right, I've got nowhere to hide other than behind this table. I was fully expecting it to find me, and it didn't. It just walked past. On hard, that would never happen. Basically, if you're ever caught out in the open at all, you're gonna get found. The sensitivity on everything just feels like it's turned up loads. It's not an enjoyable way of playing it. So, yeah.
I had a similar moment where I was in like a little office room and I was crafting stuff, and then like while in the crafting menu, like the alien just walked in. And I was just there, just like screwing something together, just like looking around, like, is it going to know me? And then it just looked around and just walked out the room. And I was like, okay, I carry on. And I was just like, oh God, like gulp. I guess that's because I was on easy as well.
Yeah. Did you still, as I kept doing, like keep shooting the alien pointlessly as it had found you and came towards you?
No, I did watch out of rage.
Just out of rage and annoyance, just be like, I just take it.
Shot it with a flamethrower. I did that a few times. That actually worked out okay.
Well, that's one of the few things that actually has an effect, like slowing it down at least, is the flame.
Yeah. So speaking of difficulty, I think, so one of the things that surprised me today is I went to watch back a bunch of old video reviews that came out when the game was released, because I always like to know, like, well, I know it's beloved now, what were people saying when it first came out? And IGN gave it a 5.9 out of 10, and GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, so which is super surprising to me. And like, I can get to some of their other points, but one of the things that I think was in the IGN review they mentioned is that the game's recommended difficulty is hard. And like in the review, he was like, I played it on hard. Don't play it on hard. Like, so, like, I wonder, like, if the reason it got not a great reception at launch is because the game recommended, I don't know if it still does now, at least at launch, to play on hard. And I wonder if it was just maybe a little bit too difficult, and with like the time pressure of trying to finish a review, maybe that had an impact on why it didn't kind of get a great response when it launched.
I think that possibly coupled with the fact that it's very long. So if you kind of stuck with the hard rating coupled with the length, also if you weren't a fan of the Alien franchise to begin with, because I think that can definitely just hold, like that held my attention, just
of course,
till the end. But yeah, those things combined probably led to that. Yeah. Kind of.
Do you think it's too long, Joe?
Yeah, I think you could have easily shaved a few hours of gameplay off that, especially as, well, one thing I do really like about the game is it isn't linear. It isn't kind of start end. You are kind of playing in this huge, and your objectives, you often sort of go over old ground that you've trod before, like similar to some Resident Evils, I guess. You're sort of constantly going through the same doors you've been before, like. Even with I think it's like maybe 15 to maybe like 18-hour playing time, I still felt like there was a lot of places I hadn't seen and a lot of things I hadn't done. Like even Ollie's even told me a few things that he's done that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know that you could do. So,
apparently there's an alien wandering around here somewhere. I ain't seen it.
Apparently.
They do randomize some stuff as well. Like not like layout, but like where like you get items from and stuff, like that is randomized as well, so you couldn't be like, oh, I know I get the shotgun ammo from here, like that does switch around.
The thing is I feel like I am near the end because I've been doing what I normally do, which is use the walkthrough chapter names to know how far I am. I feel like I'm near the end, but I know I'm not. I'm about halfway through. I've played for about 12 hours. Joe, are you going to go, Joe Garrett, are you going to go back to it?
I probably won't finish it, no.
Okay, I'm going to drop a reasonably big spoiler now then. So I'm only halfway through the game. The alien is gone. The alien is gone. And now I'm just dealing with Worker Joes.
Like, is it gone, Joe? Like, is it gone?
It's definitely, it's gonna come back. I think it's going to come back. But as far as I can tell, I don't know how it's going to come back because basically
the section not gone.
Okay, there's a section in the game where you go into another bit of the ship and the alien is chasing you, and your crew is like, oh, is the alien chasing you? And you're like, yeah, it's still chasing me. And they're like, oh, okay, well, sorry. And they cut that bit of the ship off, and that bit spins into space. It's probably the best bit of the game. It spins into space, and then you like clamber up, get a spacesuit, and then fly back to the ship. And then you do about 3 chapters with no alien and no threat. You don't even need the motion detector because it gives you loads of ammo, loads of weapons, and then the pump action shotgun it gives you, and then just throws Worker Joes at you. And now where I am, I'm going to the AI of the ship to turn off the Worker Joes, and that feels like it's going to be the end.
What's the AI called? Because obviously it's called like Mother, isn't it? In like Alien,
it's called Apollo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like just about to go in there, and it's like it feels like that should be the end. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, from what I think, from what I can remember, you're quite near to. I don't want to give it away.
No, don't give it away because I will play it again. But I've got 7 more missions to do, and I've done 12.
Yeah.
So it's like quite a lot of the game left.
This was the key point from the reviews, is they said it was too long, and then they said that like it doesn't introduce enough new things. Like after they say that there's a big section where it's just Worker Joes for a long time, and then like it will just remix mechanics that have already been in the game. It doesn't really add anything new at a point. So I'm kind of like I think I'm right before you. I'm on mission 11. So I've got the flamethrower. I've done the bit where I was trying to lock the area off, but then they had to open it to escape. So I think I'm like I think I'm just at your heels, Ollie.
The next thing you're going to do is the bit I just spoiled. So maybe you should.
I might check that out actually. Just that.
It's really cool. It's the best bit I've done. The other thing, as you're saying about the content, I feel like this game only has 2 mission objectives, and one of them is can you turn the thing off, and one of them is can you turn the thing on.
Yeah.
And all I do is walk into areas.
You said you got to grab a thing before you turn it on.
Like one. Yeah, but it's like.
I wrote the first thing I wrote in my notes here under the game is just lots of opening doors.
Yeah.
There is literally about 30 different ways of opening a door in a ship, which is very inefficient when designing a ship. Right? Because there's codes, and then the fun game they make you play, the tuner thing.
Yeah.
And then the big key, and then the torch. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The torch.
Yeah.
That for me.
2 torches. 2 torches.
2 torches. That for me was a lot of the action. Is that, or what I found most stressful, I suppose.
I do think the hacking minigame is good though.
Yeah,
I really like that hacking minigame. It's cool. Like choosing the little icons. Like I don't like the one with the line and you have to press A to stop it because like it's just kind of a laggy game, so it's hard.
Yeah. I was like it's so lag because I was like, oh, my TV with my TV input is a bit laggy. But then there's a bit when I was playing it on the Switch, and I'm like, well, this shouldn't be laggy, and it like was still. I was always trying to press it like before I was meant to.
Yeah. I also find those bits help take a bit of the anxiety out of the situation. So, obviously, if that were really happening to you, it would be so much more frustrating. But I almost feel like that's a time to chill out, do a little brain teaser, a little, focus game, and then you're back into anxiety hell.
Yeah, my like slowdown moment was standing near a save point. As long as it didn't say hostiles nearby, I was like, okay, I can make some stuff because there's obviously no enemies here, so it's cool.
So first, you think the vents and the cupboards are your safety. They're not at all.
They're not, especially if you forget to hold your breath, which is something that happened to me.
Oh yeah, that whole thing. Okay, because it's hard to tell if you actually are holding your breath.
You can only do it when it pops up. Is the only time you can do it.
Right. Okay. So not just all the time. Just something.
Yeah.
Did anyone find it scary? Like, I know we're speaking about like being like anxious and like there's like, oh, I don't want to lose progress. Like, was anyone scared by this game at all?
I think I found there a few moments if you're like sort of in the zone with it, and it's not a moment where you've died over and over again, then it does create a very scary atmosphere. I didn't think there were a huge amount of jump scares necessarily. Like, I don't know. What about you, Ollie? I'm not sure.
So I played it with Bryony, and she was scared the whole time, but I was like, once the aliens caught me once, I kind of know what it's going to do. So it's tense because I don't want to lose my progress and go back to my save point. But actually being scared is like, especially like because you're creeping around in the dark and it's like, well, it's either going to be an alien, a human, or a worker Joe. Yeah. Like also, I know exactly what's going to be out there. So.
A lot of the time with the alien, you kind of know you're dead before you're dead because you've like given yourself away, or you know that you can see it on the motion tracker and you're in a place where you can't hide. So I think once you've resigned yourself to death, which happens a lot. Did you get that achievement of killed a lot of times by it?
Oh, we played on Switch. There's no achievements. So probably
there's an achievement for the Xbox called like killed 100 times, and that is, I think, the only achievement of that type. And I got it worryingly early on in the Just walking
Yeah. It's trying to explain what like the controls are. You're like, oh, I got an achievement. What's this?
Oh, no. Yeah. It's like, oh, you used the pistol and you died 100 times.
Congratulations. Like I found it like a bit tense at the beginning. Like, so I normally am scared of games. I didn't find it hugely scary, but like you kind of said, Joe, it's like as soon as you've been killed once, and especially when it's like, oh, I've been killed and lost progress, then I'm just like kind of frustrated. I'm like, no, just leave me alone for a bit. I gotta put this canister in this whatever it is or whatever, you know. And then I'm like as soon as like you have like even 1% of like frustration or annoyance, I feel like that trumps fear and anxiety so much. And so like once I can have my first moment of that, then that for the rest of the game, I was kind of very much like, can you just leave me alone a little bit, alien, because I've got jobs to do here. Like I'm the only mechanic on the ship, and I got to fix everything. So can you just let me be?
Yeah. One element we haven't gone into, I don't know if because maybe it's only me that felt it, but I feel like this game's really good for like causing mischief and being mischievous, because you're like always hiding and like throwing noisemakers and like throwing flashbangs at people and then like throwing a noisemaker at humans, and you're literally waiting for the alien to come over. Like I feel like the mischievous level is so high that like it's actually quite fun when you're in control of the situation. It's a lot of fun to be like upstairs above people and then be like or like bang your crowbar against the wall near someone and then go and hide and wait for the alien to come. Like that anticipation of waiting for the aliens to turn up, knowing that it's not coming after you, is like actually very fun, which is like kind of twisted, but like it is fun just being like always getting turned up.
Definitely agree with you on the lower difficulty setting. I think on hard stuff like that, it's just impossible because they just mow through any human and then come straight to your little drawer that you're hiding in. But I was playing it earlier, and when you're in those sort of big rooms that sort of have several levels, and there's people like humans, you and the alien. Yeah, you have a great time doing that. It's great. Also, I swear, like I feel like the floor, hiding in vents in the floor. I think they would often get the alien coming down there, so that's a pretty good place to hide.
Yeah, the on easy, like the craziest thing that would happen like in these situations on easy is that you would draw the alien out and then the humans would try and hide where you are. So that was always quite a fun moment of like, okay, where it's almost like when you're a kid and you're playing hide and seek and someone's trying to get in your hiding place. You're like, get out.
I had it like I was in an event and someone went and crouched behind a block next to the vent,
and it opens the door. Like,
well, no, and I was just like, I'm just going to shoot him. So I just shot him and then went in the vent.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. I do feel like though, I know the room that you're talking about, Joe James, near the beginning. It's the lobby. And it's got like an upstairs and downstairs and 4 areas. And you go through that room like 3 times. And I feel like every time you go through it, it's a nightmare. Like, I don't know what's wrong with that room, but it's
with
so
like the
hard
walkways
to
around
it.
the top. Is that what it is? And then, like, the little reception bit in the middle. Yeah, I know the one. It's where you get the hacky tool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a nightmare to sneak through.
Well, there are a few other bits like that in the game where, once you sort of figure out the room, because you will end up spending a lot of time in there trying to like go from cupboard to cupboard. It can be fun, but I found staircases, like there's a few bits where you're just going round and round and round on the staircase. And it's just like, what is the earthly point of this? Like, I found those the most frustrating point because
the ultimate loop, the staircase. the endless loop of a staircase. That's what it is. They love their loops.
Sending you mad.
It might also be something to do with loading, which I really noticed on the Switch. Like there would be some doors that I could tell they were loading behind the door, and I feel like on any other console it would be like a slight pause and then the door would open. But on the Switch it could be like 15 seconds of the light flashing, and you're literally like, just open the freaking door. Like
it's like a Xenomorph could be coming here. It's like you're making it harder by loading slow.
Yeah.
There's not really. I mean, it's like the way the game looks, the fact that it's running like that on a Switch. Like, I mean, what were they gonna do? Like it's like it is annoying, but like that is the reality of the world we live in. If you're gonna blame anyone, blame Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other games that kind of were either side of the 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One thing. Because this
So
was released on
I
the
have a
same
list of
time.
games that came out the same year. If you want to hear them, Joe, just to kind of give you an
And
idea
they
of.
were on sort of both sides of that fence.
No,
like,
so some of these were and some of these weren't. So the game came out 2014, which is kind of known as a bit of a dud year. Like, not to say that there weren't any good games, but compared, like the you know, most games, it's like, this is the year that Last of Us came out, or like Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, you know, like every year has, like, this kind of didn't have that. So we had obviously this game, we had Dragon Age Inquisition, Dark Souls 2, Far Cry 4, like Shadow of Mordor, The Evil Within, like there's one of the Wolfenstein games came out. So there's a lot of games of kind of this sort of tier and scale. Some of them were like on both
Cross-gen,
platforms.
But again, a lot
I guess
of
Titanfall, I guess that was cross-platform, wasn't it? That was on 360, the original Titanfall.
but I guess there are a lot of games that have sort of stayed there, I guess. Where I don't know, but I came to this game so late, I thought it was a lot more recent than 2014 when I played it. And I was surprised to find out that it had come back as far back as that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, dull year for games, because I think Last of Us was the year before that, wasn't it? Like 2013.
Yeah, because that was right at the end of PS3, wasn't it? And then I guess GTA 5 was because that was right at the end. That's another one that people kind of forget that you could play GTA 5 on a PS3, if you can believe it. Like, that seems wrong. Yeah.
Redemption 2 wasn't. That was a bit later, wasn't it? You couldn't get that on.
No,
Red Dead 1. Red Dead 1 was reasonably close by.
I
think just the art, like maybe not even the art style, but just graphically, Alien Isolation still looks so good because the art direction is so strong.
One of the reviews, I think it was the GameSpot one, was saying about how bad the game looks, and then I was like looking at the footage and just being like, wait, what? Like, what game do you play? Like, and they was playing on like Xbox One or something. I was like, really? Like, especially even like compared to other games coming out like that year as well. Like, yeah, that kind of surprised me.
I mean, it's not hugely surprising because it is just purely the Alien film aesthetic, like totally ripped from that. There's nothing really new, I would say, other than, well, the Worker Joe's obviously is sort of like a new thing to the whole franchise, like in that form. But like, other than the literal gameplay itself, there isn't anything massively new brought to the franchise for this game. I don't think so.
Yeah. Can I say about the so this wasn't the first time I played this game, which is something that I hadn't mentioned. So I played this before it came out. Briefly at a at a public gaming, like it was like Eurogamer, I think it was, like one of the events in London, and they had a booth to play it, and so I went in and I played it, and I had like a mission. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember this bit in the bit I played, but I don't think I would anyway. But I had to like get a key or something, and it was like, get the key and open the door, and then it's a big shocker. But I couldn't find the key, and I was just looking around for ages trying to find this key, and I just couldn't find it, and I was too embarrassed to like ask any of like the people there. And I just spent the whole time wandering around looking for it. I never found it. And then they were like, okay, that's your time. They're like, did you enjoy it? I was like, yeah, it was great. I was like, didn't even see the alien or anything. No, I just wandered around looking for a key. I think I was a bit like glad because I'd like proper like headphones on. I was probably really scared. It was like in like a dark like atmospheric booth. And they're like, did you enjoy it? Like we were vlogging it. They're like, did you have fun? I was like, yeah, it was great. I was like, I just wandered around like 3 rooms back and forth for like 15 minutes.
Joe Garrett likes our game. This is the side we need to keep going.
Really peaceful walking simulator. Yeah, I really liked it.
Hey, a lot of video games have gone back to just pure walking. Like at Death Stranding, like just walking. Yeah. Who'd have thought it?
Oh yeah. I was going to say I only had to use a guide once in the whole thing. I feel like it's really good at leading you the right way and showing you where things are. Yeah, and like items, the fact they flash orange means like you're just basically not going to miss. Maybe they added that in after Joe tried it. They thought
Yeah, that was the feedback. They were like
Yeah, that is-
capturing the footage. I didn't realise
Yeah.
and looking at back and be like, this idiot has spent 15 minutes to find the key. It was probably like on the table at the start of the demo, and I was like, let's begin, and just turned around and just like wandered away.
Yeah, I will say this game, I did like it, but I feel like if it was ending where roughly I am, I would probably love it. But I'm a bit like, I've got to do another 6 hours of turning things on and off
Yeah.
to see because I want to play the DLC because it sounds really good. So, but I need to finish the game first.
I hear the DLC is sort of scenes from the actual film, possibly. Is that who you
Yeah,
want to
so
play?
there's 4 DLCs, and the first 2 are from the film, from Alien, and they are the original actors reprise their roles as well, which is quite cool. And you can choose to play as any of them, so you don't have to play as Ripley. And then the other 2 DLCs are more like you kind of have access to the whole ship, and you have to like run around, and it's like a bit more of a fast-paced version of the single player.
Right.
But it's like you have it's like a time trial type thing. But it sounds quite cool. So, but I need to finish the game to get to those.
I mean, I would encourage you to finish it. Like, you do have a lot of game to go, but the spectacle of it definitely increases. Like, you definitely come out of the ship a lot more, or
Right.
the ship definitely expands and becomes like a much more like interesting and engaging environment to be in. But I entirely agree. It is, at least 5 hours too long. You kind
Yeah,
of
5 hours.
like easily. Like, Resident Evil The Village is like, I was thinking like, what's a similar kind of more recent survival horror thing
Yeah.
that builds in a similar way, as in, level of difficulty. And just that game's length is perfect. I think it's like 10 hours on the nose, and then that's it. And you walk away thinking that was a good amount of game.
Yeah.
And also, it sort of left you with enough to go back to it. The replay value of Alien. I'm not sure. I don't know. Although,
I guess it's so long it doesn't matter. It's the length of 2 playthroughs of most other similar games, I guess.
Yeah. And I still, because I made a list of things that I think were missing from it, or it could have done with, but then I don't know if that would have over-egged it. I would have loved like a zero gravity aspect to this.
Yeah.
Like, we're in space. I feel like that's been done a few times badly.
It's scary as well because you're kind of like out of control a bit. Like,
exactly.
Like imagine being like zero gravity with the alien.
Just you sort of floating towards you, like a dog in a swimming pool. Just like,
yeah, terrifying / adorable.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about some of my negatives as well, because I've not really said about them, but I did have a few. So for as much as I was saying about like the Switch looking good, I did have some technical problems. I've had the game, I had it hard crash. I had a weird glitch that I showed you, Ollie, when you came over, where I could only face like one direction, and I could half turn either way, but I couldn't interact with anything or do anything, but I was stuck facing one direction, and I had to like reload to an old save to fix it and lost like a bunch of progress. Then I had like guns were like constantly floating, like enemies' guns. Like I had that happen loads. Like, so there was things like that. But the biggest thing is, and this is something once again that I've mentioned to Ollie in the past, I don't know how much he remembers, is I always struggle with games where you're being chased by an enemy that you can't kill. Resident Evil 2 Remake's one of my favorite games, and I didn't play the third one just because I knew that was in it. Like, you're talking about like Resident Evil 7, when you have like the people that like chasing you. Like, I always hate that. Like, I'm someone that in any game, I'm like, I want to go in, clear out all the enemies, and then I'll explore and loot and work out the puzzles. But first I want to get them out the way. Like, I don't want to be... Like, it's like I'm trying to do a thing and there's a fly there, and I'm like, no, get out of the way, because I can't focus. Like, that's always... And like, that's a me thing. Like, even going back to like stealth games, things like Metal Gear Solid, like, I know it's like you can sneak past the enemies, but I'll trank them all or choke them all out and then explore. And so this game is kind of all about... And like, it has been a struggle because of that. and that has really like I do sometimes just wish it didn't have an alien in, and I know that sounds absolutely bonkers, but that is just the way I am.
Especially as you see from Aliens, like the alien is actually relatively easy to kill. You just shoot it much, like, and that whole aspect is you know having an enemy that you're so certain that you can't dispose of. Yeah, does wear on you. I guess it's good that the worker Joes are there, so you can
get your anger out.
Get your anger out on a robot.
Yeah, and then this is a me thing. Like people, like absolutely, there's a million. Well, was it 44 games where you can kill lots of aliens in if you want. Like those games exist. Like this isn't a criticism of the game, but this is a reason for why like this game isn't for me, and why I'm pretty certain I'm not gonna go back to it or finish it. Is because that's not a game I didn't like. And then there were also just some times when, like, I would lose progress because of the saming system where I did get frustrated. There was like a time when, and like I'll have footage of it, but like I was checking the motion sensor constantly, like, and not just checking it once, keep checking it. And I was ages from my last save point, but I saw of the new save point. Then as I was walking towards it, it just like did a cutscene of it from a vent. And it just like instant killed me. And I was like, there was literally like, people moan about like the beginning of Dark Souls because there's a bit where a boulder rolls down a hill and like hits you and does like 20% of your health, but you can at least see the boulder, and people say, oh, it's not fair. But like that was like, I had zero indication that I was going to get like a cutscene to instant kill me. And then like I quit the game after that, like, and didn't play for a few days because I was like, I don't want to have to replay that whole same section.
Was that the scene where it's all like blowing up?
I had to put two levers down. It was just before the scene where it all blows up.
The alien, when it's an event above you, you can see it like drooling.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's quite hard to see, but that's what you. Yeah, that's what. Okay. That's how you know drool. It's really hard to see, especially when everything's like on fire, which it quite often is. But I will say I'm fully. I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm fully on board with the idea, and the cat and mouseness. I was like, oh, I'm going to get sick of this, but actually, I didn't. I just wish it would stop where it is rather than like halfway through. But like, yeah, I've decided that I quite like this type of game, despite me thinking that Resident Evil 7 was the only one that I liked that was like that. Have you got anything else, Joe? Because I've got 2 game ideas that I'd like to pitch very quickly. Right, okay, I've got one for each of you. So, Joe Garrett, imagine if they took this game and they combined it with Escape Academy. Okay. That would be pretty fun. So, like, because the alien can hear you, imagine trying to tell someone, like, the code for the door is 632, and they're trying to put it in, and the alien is walking around.
Well, like, he can actually hear you.
He can actually hear you, imagine mic. That. Because he originally could hear you through Kinect. But obviously Kinect doesn't exist anymore, but that's how it originally was. So you can imagine how cool it would be, like, playing a co-op version of this game would probably make it a bit more breezy and a bit more fun. So that's my first pitch to Creative Assembly. That's my first idea.
Okay,
greenlit. My other idea.
Go ahead.
Greenlit, thank you. Joe James, you're a bit of a cinephile.
I am.
Imagine if they took this exact gameplay and then made a Halloween game. So you had the guy from Halloween, Mike Myers, walking, and you're running between houses.
I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head now that you've said that.
Like,
that's an amazing idea.
Yes, it's such a good idea, isn't it?
That's such a good
like
idea.
You can hide in cupboards, like it's all that, do all that stuff in the film. So,
like, have you? Well, and even I don't know. You couldn't do it as playing as Michael Myers, like as in have two aspects of that. No, but especially like, have you seen the more recent Halloween films? Like,
I have.
They've just sort of brought a whole update to the whole thing. Oh yeah, that's an amazing idea. Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then also you could have like different houses instead of different wings.
Well, yeah, you could just have it like most of Halloween is just on a street, isn't it? So
exactly.
House to house, and
so many things to turn on and off in all those houses. So many generators to get petrol for. And
so many keys to find.
So many keys.
So many fuse boxes to switch on.
Back in. Yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel about the mischief angle though. If it was like an actual murderer going around, I feel like I might feel a bit different about it.
Just messing with your neighbours as well, like baiting them out, like
knocking on the window, like. Okay, I've also got some questions from the audience. We've got quite a lot. This one is literally for you, Joe James.
Hello.
It's from Muppet on the Discord. And they said, question for whoever chose this game, which is you. Which is your favourite Alien film, and which would you recommend to any newcomers looking to check out the franchise?
Oh, favourite Alien film. So, if you're coming like straight to the franchise, I'd weirdly say watch Aliens first. I think it kind of does fill in all the gaps. You kind of know where we're coming from. It's also a big kind of crowd-pleasing blockbuster. There's something for everyone in there. It's James Cameron at the helm, and yeah, it's you get a lot of Alien for your money. And then I'd say follow it up with the first one from there. Weirdly, one of my favourite Alien films is the third one, even though that one it wasn't very well received at the time, and it does have a sort of thin cult following now. But it was one of David Fincher's first films.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So before he did Seven and Fight Club, he did Alien 3. And even he himself says he looks back and he didn't have the best time with it. But I think you can look at it and be like, yeah, it's definitely a David Fincher film. It's also got a mostly British cast for some reason. So the plot for Alien 3 is after aliens, they've escaped that planet on that ship, Ripley, and I think that soldier and that little girl, and they crash land on a planet which is now just used as a prison. So prisoners are sent there from Earth, and most of them are British. So you've got Charles Dance in there, and Peter Postlethwaite, and loads of other Brits just sort of coming crawling out of the woodwork. And
nice.
And then on that, there's again back to basics, one alien again, rather than an alien, loads of them. Except this alien it's kind of like a dog hybrid, like the face hugger latched onto a dog, and then the dog comes out and wreaks all kinds of havoc.
Oh God!
Yeah, so I would say, go in with Aliens, then go start with Alien, and whilst it's not everyone's cup of tea, Alien 3 is my favourite.
Nice.
You recommend things as if you've put them up on a dartboard and you're just throwing it. You're like, start with the second.
And I like the third. Yeah.
And on to the third. Yeah.
Aliens is still just an absolute blast today. Like that holds up super well. Like I think we had a lot of fun.
We had a great time
watching it. Like Alien, I think's aged a bit just because it's going for horror, but some of the sets and stuff, not the set, but I guess the costumes, like the fact that the alien is obviously a bloke running around and you can see his leg, so it's the problem is it's just not scary. Like nowadays it isn't scary, and then it doesn't have the campy fun side of it. So I didn't enjoy that one as much, but Aliens I still really enjoyed.
And also Aliens is considering it's all done with puppets and miniatures and animatronics, is just fantastic. You get, I don't know, I guess we've seen a little bit of that recently, with some of the Star Wars stuff, but it's just done so brilliantly well in those, and absolutely big highlight of the franchise.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
The extensive franchise.
Okay, got another question here from Dragon J Gaming 3035 on YouTube. Joe Garrett, I will throw this to you first. Do you think the game fits well with the themes covered by the Alien films? Did you enjoy the additions? This edition. And did you notice Easter eggs cues back to the franchise? I personally found some of the nods rather charming and feel that it's a rather faithful game, at least to the original Alien film.
So there's stuff obviously the set design I noticed. I'm interested. I'll pass it over to Joe in a second. One of the things, I watched a lot of stuff today about it, and a lot of videos that 20 hidden things that you didn't know about. And so I've seen how many things, some of the posters on the walls, the names of people are the set designer from the original film. I know there's loads of things like that. And then even Amanda Ripley, the character you play as, her face is based on Sigourney Weaver's real life mum. is who her face is based on, because there's a scene in, you might be able to help me out here, Joe, in a future Alien film where she's looking at, because for the film, she's kind of traveled through time essentially in stasis. So she's looking at a picture of her daughter, who's like an old lady, and that is her mum. And so that's who the face is based off.
Just to jump in, just so we go the chronology. So, Alien Isolation happens between the first and the second film. It happens between those two.
Yeah, it's like 15 years after the first film.
Which is then about 70 years before the second film, I think.
17.
Yeah, I think isn't it like 50? Isn't it like 57 years or something? She's in cryosleep, is that right?
Oh, okay, yeah. It's a lot of ages, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember us, me and Ollie saying about like, I guess most of the people she knew was dead, and you were like, I think all of them probably. I remember it was being like just long enough that someone could still be alive. So it's definitely that sort of range.
Joe, James, have you got anything? Any Easter eggs or anything?
I was sort of looking into the production of the original film, and it kind of had a bit of like a fractured get-going. I guess kind of similar to the game in a sense, because it was originally not about an alien. It was originally just meant to be about people in space on a doomed space mission. Then, because the original idea would be have a load of people in like cryosleep, and they are woken up by a signal. That was all it was originally. And then various drafts down the line, the alien got introduced, and then originally it was meant to be like a male character in the lead. But then, and I will try and find where I read this, because it was an interview with the original writer. He apparently said he wanted the film to be kind of an attack on men, in a sense. So, because there was a big discussions at the time in America with the women's movement in America and equal opportunities. That was like a massive discussion at the time. And he said his idea came to him in a dream that the aliens must attack people almost by forcing themselves upon you, because they sort of latch to your face, and then that tube goes into your mouth, and then they burst out of your chest or out of your stomach. So it's kind of showing people a very, very example of the pain women go through in a sense like that. So in that sense, it is sort of a bit of a feminist powerhouse there. We've got a big female lead and taking on an alien who kind of takes people on in this way. And I think we definitely have that transition to the game. Got a female lead for one, and she's pretty badass. Amanda Ripley.
That was
So there you go. I do like that. I think so. In that sense, very faithful to the original. The original kind of messages of the original film.
Well, watching Alien and Aliens with Joe, I kept saying to him there's some sort of weird maternal theme going on where Ripley in the film is a mother looking after this kid, especially in Aliens, and then also the alien is also a mother looking after its eggs, and it's kind of what these two are facing off against each other. And I actually thought it was a bit of a shame that didn't really carry over into the game, because obviously you're playing as someone who is so young. The character in the game is 18, 19. You don't really get that element of it so much. But there is one thing in the game which is because they were doing throwbacks to the film, and I was the one part of the film that I'd want to play is when you go to the alien planet and go into that ship. And then that's the bit you get to do. So I was absolutely chuffed about that. With the little spacesuits blasting steam out. That part was so good. And it was
well, I was sort of waiting for in Aliens where she has to go back in and find the girl. I was sort of thought the game would be building to a bit more like that, where it's finally, right, here's all the weapons, and they finally work, and they actually do something, and they can actually kill the alien coming for you.
Yeah, or the mech fight thing, the exosuit thing, an equivalent of that. I've been running from you the whole time, now we're going to make a stand against you. Obviously I don't know where it does go, but
I was hoping it was building to something like that, and from what I've sort of been reading, that's what a lot of people were kind of hoping we'd have, a game with this sort of aesthetic, but with more of an Aliens action vibe to it. But from what I've been able to find, there's nothing much in the pipeline at the moment.
I mean, the thing is, Colonial Marines came out a year bore this, which was famously
Obvious.
awful, and there was a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I know that for this game, because it came out a year before, they were like, all of the trailers and all of the preview stuff was all gameplay. They didn't do any cinematic stuff because they were so scared of like a repeat of that again. And I think that game was meant to be that game you want, Joe, but I think it was just done not very well.
Is Fireteam Elite? That's the same thing, or is that a different thing?
That's co-op.
That's a
third-person
multiplayer one,
co-op.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty good.
I played it a bit because that again was on Game Pass last year, but again it had zero horror element to it at all. Like it was very Gears of War type, just go in, shoot everything. The next place, shoot everything. Yeah.
I've got one more question for you both. I'm especially looking forward to Joe Garrett's answer on this. It's from Bugman8061 on YouTube, and they said, "Have you ever played a horror game that has made you want to quit just out of fear?" Joe Garrett.
Yeah, there's most of them.
Really?
I don't like horror games. Like I play some games that are considered horror games because I like the gameplay, but I always wish they weren't as scary. I mean, PT is the big one. That was one where I played. It was like me, Kai, and my sister, and we were like we wanted to see what was going to happen, but none of us wanted to hold the controller. And so every loop of the hallway, we'd pass the control, be like, "I did my bit, you got to go." And it's like, "Oh, and your bit, you got to go in the bathroom." I mean, when playing Resident Evil, I think it was Village, with like the bit of all like the dolls and that, I don't know, that horrible thing chasing. And I was like, "Can you be in the room?" I mentioned in Half-Life Alyx in VR, like when I had to play, like I had to go get Kai and be like, "Can you just like sit in the room with me for a bit and just be there?" Like I get scared of I don't get scared of films. I get scared of games. So yeah, plenty of times.
Nice, man. Joe James.
The thing that's mind, and I don't even know what it was on, but do you remember that old Slender Man game? Somebody had it was like a really sort of like not great graphics. I think it was like you had to play it on a certain website, but I just remember it being absolutely terrifying, and couldn't play it without. No, I don't think I ever finished it. I think I only ever played it in like 15-minute stints before getting absolutely terrified. And then I think, I do get scared by games, but I don't think not enough to turn one off. I think maybe was there a Blair Witch game? I think.
Yes, that was really good. I finished that game in one sitting.
Oh, yeah, that one I remember being like, it's so stressful when the scary bits happen. That I was like, I have to take breaks with this. I do really want to play that now. Though that was really
good. It is good.
Yeah.
It is good.
Yeah,
at uni I was playing Silent Hill 3, and there's a part in there where when you walk up to a door and it's locked, you kind of rattle it and knock on it. And then there's a part where I was in the toilet and there was these toilet cubicles, and I rattled each door and they weren't opening. And then the last one, after I knocked on it, someone knocked back from the inside. And I literally just paused it and I just sat there like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And my housemate was asleep. And I was like, I can't even leave the room to go into the hallway because I'm so scared. I just had to wait for him to wake up. So I literally just sat there like making noise, like trying to wake this guy up, like, because I was honestly so scared of this toilet. Like, that has been, for some reason, I think it's because it was so unexpected, that's been like the scariest game thing I think I've maybe ever been through. That was like, maybe we'll do it for the pod one day, Joe.
You've suggested it to me a few times.
I played
it back in the day. I'm up to giving it another shot. I wasn't scared.
No. Right, shall we go to the list?
Yes, put on the list.
Max Payne 3 is low.
I know, man. Joe hates it. Joe Garrett hates Max Payne 3.
Yes, Max Payne is low and Prey is high. Can we get on to Alien Isolation? We do this.
You've got Prey at 7. You got Prey at 7. I know. What? No. No. Anyway.
Okay. I'm assuming we're just back. We'll include that in the show.
Okay.
Joe James, where would you put? Actually, no. First of all, any other comments on the list?
I've got lots of things to say about the list. Right, hang on. I Death Stranding at 3.
It's amazing.
It's good. Is it top 10? Is it 3?
Well, look at the rest of the list first before you.
So
Okay,
just to let you know, like
okay.
neither of us were like super hyped going into it. Neither of us played it when it came out. We were both like,
Okay.
oh, it will be interesting to talk about. We both fell in love with it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Okay,
yeah,
well, then
it's
I
pretty
should
solid up
definitely
there.
I should definitely give that another go then. I like benefit.
Director's cut. If you
Get to the snowy
Right.
mountains. That's when it starts to click.
Okay. Right. Being totally honest, because I do really like the game, but I am a big fan of games that you can go back to and play again and again and find out sort of different ways of doing it. And whilst I'm sure you can do that, it's too stressful for me to sort of keep going back to it and doing that. I would put it at all these games I ain't even heard of. I want to put it at 27, because it's not as good as like the original Resident Evil, but it is better than a lot of the things below there. I would say. I'd say 20. Yeah, so 27 is where I would put it.
Nice, man.
That's surprising. Not most times when a guest brings on a game, like they're like minimum top 10 or number 1. So I feel like you're trying to be very fair here.
I'm trying to be fair because also you guys have highlighted a lot of things that I hadn't really taken into consideration, and I'm like,
that always happens.
I also did not enjoy that aspect of the game.
I'm gonna say as well that I would put Alien Isolation in the same place. I would put it one under Resident Evil.
Okay, so yeah, that would be the 27th spot. So just be clear, one underneath the GameCube remake of Resident Evil, one above Driver San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, really setting me up to be the baddie, aren't you guys? Like this isn't like, as I said, like I don't like games where there's a thing you can't kill chasing you, and this is like thing you can't kill chasing you, the game. So I want to be fair here, because obviously like this is a list of personal favorites. It's not a list of quality. Like this isn't, we're not doing a proper review. We're just doing personal opinion. So like this is like, even if I want to put it on the list, this isn't me saying about how good or bad the game is. It's how much did I personally gel with it. And I can see that this is a really good game. And if you were, like Joe is, like a massive fan of like the franchise or a massive fan of like these sort of horror games, like I see why this has become a cult classic. And I don't even know if it even fits cult classic. Like people call it as one. It sold like over 2 million copies within like a year from when it came out and has continued selling. So it's like it's probably too popular to be a cult classic, but some people really love it. But I didn't have fun with this game. I was like, I'm going to play again to make sure I know enough for the podcast and can capture footage. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have stopped playing a lot sooner. And so I think, for me, I would put it underneath BioShock 2, but above The Dig. So that would be at 39.
Oh,
sorry,
that is
guys.
low, mate.
But I mean, look, I enjoyed
low.
BioShock 2. I enjoyed Ratchet and Clank. I enjoyed Zero Ranger. These are all the games that it would be under placed here. Alien Isolation, I appreciated. I didn't enjoy.
I feel like Alien Isolation does have a slight edge over these games it's been grouped with because it's artistically very good. And I also really appreciate how dedicated they were to their one idea. Yeah. And they didn't just go like, oh, and then at the end you get a rocket launcher and like blow up the ship. Like it's a horror game.
And they considered that. They cut out content because they didn't want to do, I mean, the famous example is the original BioShock where it ends with a dumb boss battle, which completely ruins the vibe. They didn't want to do that. I appreciate it. I think it looks amazing. The things that they did with the tech and the lighting, the audio is great. Like, I think it is a better game than the ones I've put it under, but I hated playing it. Not
so you don't think it's worth being above Ratchet and Clank?
Like I know I'm going to let you have a few slots here, but this is okay. me. This is because it's such a jump down. Like I will be fair. Like I'm not going to like dig my heels in like at this point, but I'm just saying that is where I would put it if it was up to me. Like I'm going to at least give you BioShock 2 because I know I enjoyed that more than you. So you can have that one for free, Ollie.
Are you telling me that you had more fun playing Caro Blaster than you did playing Alien Isolation?
Yeah. I had loads of fun. Caro Blaster was great. What do you mean?
Okay. Well, it's because like you don't really play 2D games, and it was also another one that was a bit of a outside your comfort zone, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean they're just
icons next to some of the games. games, like next to the last.
Oh, they won we had an award show, and they're the ones that won awards.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you can tell Joe's a big fan. Joe's a big fan of the bonus points.
So these are all video games, right?
What? I thought this was a book club. I thought this was
there is one thing on the list. I don't know if you'll find it. There is one not video game on here, but I doubt you'll be able to spot it.
The Beginner's Guide. Is that a game?
It is a game.
It is.
There's one board game called Subterra that I'm no doubt you wouldn't have heard of because it's not an even very well-known board game, but we did do one board game.
Have you played it, Ollie?
Yeah, we played it together. Accusing tone. Turn up on the podcast. You're not even a fan, and you start accusing me of stuff.
What is this? What have you ambushed me into it? What's going on?
I think I would say, Joe Garrett, that it needs to go above Ratchet and Clank because Ratchet and Clank, I feel like it's a bit, I don't know, creatively.
It's just, I mean, that's all Ratchet and Clank does is go down, doesn't it? I feel like every week it's
Zero Ranger. I could see as being the limit because that's another game, great artistic direction. Maybe
and
a game
fun,
you didn't enjoy.
Fun.
Yeah. Well, you didn't finish it.
I basically did. I played it more than I did Alien Isolation. I'll be honest. Yeah. Right?
Can it go over Ratchet and Clank?
If I give up Ratchet and Clank, then can we draw the line at Zero Ranger? You won't try and keep pushing it. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's it. Line drawn. Yeah. Alien Isolation now sits at 37.
You know, we aimed high, and I think that's
Are we good? Are we good, Joe? Are you like So just from behind the scenes, Joe can't see us, but I feel like even though he can't see us, eye contact has lost. Like he's looking away. Like
I do have things to say about that, but I have respect for the list, and I have respect for you two. Definitely knowing more than I do about such things, so I'll take your word for it. But I still think that Max Payne 3 needs to be in the top 10.
Top 10, that is a leap.
I was like that when we started doing it. I was like, this is the best action game ever made, and nothing has come close to it. And Joe literally tore it apart for an hour and a half, and that's how it ended up down it.
I do remember that, and I still don't agree with any of it. Yeah.
Did you watch that episode, Joe?
I did watch that episode, yes.
Okay.
I did. Oh. And no, it's fantastic. And, I was just thinking about those games I want to see you guys do. Is this every game that you have done?
Yeah, 50.
It's all 50, yeah.
50. Wow, all 50. Wow.
You're the 50th episode.
Oh, how exciting.
So, also, Joe James, thank you so much for bringing Alien on.
Well,
and this is now my favourite Alien thing, and I'm now a fan of Alien because of you. So, there you go.
Cool. I would, maybe don't have to play all the 45 or many other games that there are. By all means, look at the list. Maybe some will stand out. But no, thank you so much for having me, guys. And I've loved talking about this game. Loved being here.
And have you got anything to promote, Joe?
Have I got anything to promote? No, I don't really. I could shout out one of the places I work. Shout out to the Brew House Project in Arundel. If you like your coffee and you like your beer, come on down. We're open every day.
Any socials or anything? Do you have an Instagram? Or anywhere you've posted any like films or anything you'd want to push people to?
I do have an Instagram. Film projects. I don't think I'm allowed to divulge about them yet because they're not entirely finished, but soon. But that's not very good for now. I'll just leave you with my undying thanks and gratitude. It's been nice. Chai Boys back together again.
Chai Boys back together.
Finally. But before you run off, a few other little bit of housekeeping we need to do. We're going to mention some of the games that we have coming up on the podcast, if you have them ready, Ollie.
Yes. Can you believe it? We finally have confirmation of the next game. We have another guest after you, Joe, who's coming on. And we're not going to say who they are, but they have chosen the game Elite, which I believe came out in 1983 or 1984.
Somewhere around there. It's not the oldest game we've done on the podcast, but it's the second oldest. Rogue beat it by a couple years, I believe.
Yeah, it's from an old like BBC console or something, but you can play it. You can actually buy it from the developer. Well, buy it. You can get it from the developers for free. So if you go to their website, you can just download it. It doesn't cost anything. And then after that, on the 17th of November, we have Survival Kids, which is a Game Boy game that Joe Garrett picked.
Which I've never played.
Coming up. And
this is one of the first ever survival games. So that's a curiosity.
Okay.
Yep. And then we actually don't have anything announced after that. But I tell you what is coming back is the Christmas quiz.
I was going to say Christmas is coming around.
Yeah, I'm just not sure when, but it's definitely confirmed to be coming back. So that'll be in December at some point.
I guess there are no real Christmas-themed games out there.
Very small audience.
Yeah, very small.
So previously, December is also Frog Month, and so we celebrated rather than Christmas, we celebrated Frog Month. You may see actually I guess you won't, Joe, but video people will see that there's a frog behind Ollie right now, which is Frog Detective from one of the frog games we did last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we could do Frog Month again. I love that Joe James has just taken that at face value. Like that's the first time he's ever heard that information and was like, okay.
Frog Month. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm down.
If you want to talk more about like, in what way is it Frog Month? I guess like it's like where, why, and also why. Yeah, I guess I do have a lot of questions about it. I was just going to
yeah, funny. You can go watch one of the Frog episodes and you'll hear us talk about
it. I will. I'll brush up.
And I think that's all I've got, Joe. Unless you have anything else, Garrett?
No, that should be the lot. So once again, thank you so much, Joe James. It's been really interesting to hear all your thoughts. Thank you so much as well for going back and playing the game again and for the research you put in as well. We really appreciate that. Right, so thank you also, everyone, for watching or listening to this podcast, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the next one with a guest. So see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.